A versus battle I've been pondering for the past few days is White Mask Obito versus Edo Madara and who would win. So I decided to make a video about it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and do all of that corny stuff before I actually start getting into the video. Both of their scaling is fairly simple, and since Obito is the more downplayed member of the duo, I'll be starting with him first. Obito is a young outcast with no family who lived alone, sort of like Naruto without the entire village hating him stuff. He had an obsession with Rin due to her care for him, which nobody else showed, and seeing her show the same care for Kakashi caused a deep rivalry and anger between him towards him. This anger would build into a very heated rivalry, which would lead to Obito being defeated time and time again. But that isn't what you're here for. Obito is shown on multiple occasions fighting with Kakashi and reacting to him. While the argument is shaky, it appears that the Obito and Kakashi fight within the Kamui dimension directly mirrors a past fight that they had as children, which would mean, due to the fact that they were relative in the Kamui fight, they would also be relative as children. Now I'll be getting into why this is impressive. Kakashi as a child is shown on multiple occasions to be an extreme prodigy and being able to bully Jonin level threats and considered a genius throughout all of Konoha. And by virtue of Obito being relative to him, he would also be Jonin level. Upon learning the love of his life, Renobara died at the hand of his best friend. Obito went on a rampage, being able to run through multiple Miss Ninja. What's needed to note here is that they are currently in a war to retrieve it, and they want to retrieve the three tails, something that is narratively implied to be a war asset that is needed to keep the mist in power and to keep the power balance between all of the villages. The reason I'm saying this is that it would be logical and more reasonable for the mist to send some of their high ranking shinobi to retrieve it. With this reasoning, I believe that they would be sending their highest tier of shinobi, excluding Kage level, putting Obito during his rampage at around high Jonin level. After a bit of training with Madara and a few more genetic enhancements, Obito quickly rises a massive strength gap, going from high Junin to Kage level. He is able to contend with Minato, reacting to his arm swings, which was about to pierce the Raikage before he could finish his forward motion, which would put him above people like the Raikage in terms of speed and relative to Minato. Another sign of his massive growth is the fact that he's easily able to put a Genjutsu on the full nine tails in his first shown instance of actual Genjutsu skill. The feat is impressive due to the fact that it stated nobody is able to control the nine tails while it has been split into two, meaning that it's weaker. Now, your first thoughts might be, oh, but Obito is alive then. Well, first of all, we know that Obito wasn't actually introduced to the war arc, and he was hiding under the alias of Madara. Not to mention, these statements were made while Obito was playing the passive role, allowing people such as Pain, someone who is obviously weaker than him, to continue his plans, which would mean that the statement would likely not include him. Another common misconception about Orange Mask Obito is that he was quote unquote afraid of Madara. The scene in question is when Obito is willing to box with all of the Edo Akatsuki, including Edo Itachi, who fought on par with Seijumu Kabuto and and KCM1 Naruto till Edo Madara arrived. Now, there's a few ways to go about this. One, we can interpret this scene as Obito being surprised that his identity as Madara has been revealed. The second is that he views Madara as a massive asset in the war, more than all the Edo Akatsuki, and he didn't want to kill Kabuto as he got rid of his asset. I mean, it wouldn't get rid of his asset, but he didn't know that at the time. And the third is that he's afraid of Madara. Interpret this as you will, but for the sake of the video, I'll be using the second interpretation. Now, finally, onto his war arc version, where most of his feats come from. Since we've already established that when he's in his yellow mask form, he's already around KCM1 Naruto level in speed, by virtue of being relative to Minato, who is relative to KCM1 Naruto. Let me just move on. During the beginning of the war, we see that he's able to simultaneously control and power six Jinchuriki, being able to split up his focus on multiple people while fighting someone who is as fast as KCM Naruto, who is constantly getting stronger and evolving throughout the fight. The reason I say he's constantly evolving is due to the fact that B sent him out to the war when he could have obviously kept him there so he can continually grow as he fights enemies. And it's stated by B himself that fighting enemies is a shortcut to a power up, so it makes him grow in strength faster than training does. His main feats come from the fact that KCM2 and KCM1 Naruto both fail to beat him and get beaten up by him consistently. Instances of this include Obito being able to appear in front of KCM2 Naruto, who should have danger sense before he's able to react. Not to mention he also blitzes him with wood style. A weaker version of KCM2, also known as Mastered KCM1, essentially KCM2 without the cloak, is able to react to multiple of Madara's Susanoo projectiles, being able to manipulate his chakra to block these projectiles. We know that Susanoo projectiles do scale above the user due to the fact that or Sasuke fights on par with Kakashi without his Susanoo, and when he activates it and shoots an arrow at him, Kakashi states he would have been done in if he hadn't blown it away with Kamui. So yeah, that basically wraps it up for Obito's scaling. He is far above KCM to Naruto and should be above Casey. He should be above Madara and people like Edo Hashirama in terms of physical stats.
Wake up to reality.
Madara, the ghost of the Uchiha, one of the biggest menaces in all of anime, sitting at the Hall of Fame in terms of menace status. But that isn't even at all why you're here. And you came here to see some scaling, so let's get into it. Madara and Hashirama have been shown as rivals throughout this series multiple times, and being able to fight each other evenly on multiple occasions. The reason this is so impressive is that they are both one of the top shinobi of both opposing sides of the war, and they are able to fight high-ranking members of both sides of the war, being able to deflect their attacks with rocks and fight high-level Senju and Uchiha ninja. As time goes on, the rivals grow in strength, and we see them fight one more time in the anime, but I'm not sure if it's included in the manga. But it should be canon as it fills in the blank spaces that the manga panels can't fill alone. During this fight, it showcases Madara's perfect Susanoo, being able to fight on par with Hashirama, but for the most part, he gets beaten due to Hashirama's poison hacks. Soon after, the war ends, and the Senju and Uchiha clans' rivalry ceases. During this period, I do believe that they would be equal to each other due to the fact that not only does their narrative push this forward, but they also fight each other. So Madara, being the untrusting person that he is, he believes that the Senju are going to turn on the Uchiha and seek to oppress them. But the Uchiha refuse to believe him, and that's like how the whole Downzo situation came in. In a fit of rage, he abandons the village and he abandons the newly named Konoha and uses his dead brother's eyes for the activation of the first shown Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. With this new power in his hands, he seeks out Kurama, the strongest of the 9 Biju, and puts it under Genjutsu, controlling it to do battle with Hashirama. During their battle, Hashirama and Madara show extreme relativity, being able to clash, block, and react to each other during their fight. Contrary to popular belief, I do believe Madara was the stronger of the two during this. My reasoning to say so is because of Hashirama's regeneration. So it's like kind of implied that Hashirama is just constantly regenerating against the fight with Madara to the level where he has to use his regeneration constantly. And in a Kurama flashback, we literally see Hashirama all bloodied and bruised. And the reason I don't think this is because of Kurama is due to the narrative that he has of being stronger than all of the Biju and being able to easily subdue each and every one of them. So I really think that this is because of Madara. So I think Madara is like the stronger one of the two. This would mean that Hashirama was being beaten up by Madara to such a terrible extent that he wasn't able to regenerate mid-fight as he usually does. After this, we don't see much of Madara till the walk, but what is to be noted is that he assimilates Senju chakra into himself by eating a bit of Hashirama, as weird as that sounds, allowing him access to the Rinnegan upon his deathbed. Now, onto his walk feats. During the walk, Edo Madara is stated to be the strongest man of the Uchiha clan. This would put him above the likes of EMS Sasuke, who is stated relative or equal to Edo Itachi after a hatred amp. This would automatically put Ed Madara above Sage Kabuto, a beast in its own right, who I'll be making a video on later. This also shows relativity. He also shows relativity to Edo Hashirama, further pushing forward their narrative that should be apparent even to a blind man. Before people come spam my comments saying that a live Madara would violate, we need to take into account the fact that it stated that the Edo Tensei revives you close to your full strength, so any scaling applied to EMS would apply to Edo and vice versa. Now, to address the strongest man of the Uchiha clan statement, not only could that be in reference to AP, and also be in reference to the Susanoo, that can just mean that the Susanoo grants Madara higher AP than Obito, but that shouldn't make him win in the fight, due to the fact that Obito has things like Kamui, so as long as he's able to scale above Madara in terms of speed, then he should easily be able to Kamui through all of his attacks, Kamui through his Susanoo, and then just BFR him. Now, onto the versus battle. Now that we've gone over both of their scaling, we have Obito who scales above KCM2 Naruto due to the fact that it blitzes him twice, and Master KCM1 Naruto who scales to the Susanoo which is above Madara. And with the stuff we've gone over, Obito should be a blitz level above Madara, taking the speed category. But the real question is how Obito stacks up against Madara's abilities. Starting off with Tengai Shinsei, this ability isn't kind of separate from a base Rinnegan ability, but rather it's just his creative usage of it. It's basically Madara using Bansho Tenon to pull a massive asteroid from the asteroid belt. And he pulls it down, and he can pull two in rapid succession to wipe out the battlefield and kill all in its range. The problem with this ability is that most of it is that it literally just gets negged by Kamui. So Akage tried using the argument of Hashirama using wood cones against his battle with Obito should they fight. But the problem is that Obito would literally speed blitz him. Not to mention, Madara doesn't start out the fight going all out, yet Obito does. But even if he did start out the fight going all out, I don't think it'd make much of a difference, and there's nothing that implies that he's holding back, other than him not using his perfect Susanoo. So yeah, Obito should speed blitz and then put him in the Kamui dimension before he even gets the chance to make a wood clone or anything. So that's basically it. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe. I'll link my TikTok in the comments, so go check out that as well. And that's basically it. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video.